name is Jonah Smith, and this is my expository speech on Week 5 of the World History Strand. In Part 1, Chapter 3 of his book, The Discoverers, Daniel J. Borston ponders these questions. Did not the cycles of the sun and moon obviously affect happenings on Earth? Why then should not the lesser celestial bodies also affect events down here? If illiterate sailors could forecast the weather from the sky, could not learned astrologers use the data of the heavens to forecast earthly events? This quote presents the same questions that ancient Greek and Roman scientists strove to answer. These scientists and philosophers studied the night sky in an attempt to divide the apparently endless expanse of time into manageable chunks such as weeks. This examination of the stars eventually led them to develop the planetary week, but there is another product, the science of astrology. Though it is still accepted by some, today astrology is now generally considered to be wholly incorrect. It certainly is not now considered to be a form of science. Why then did so many in ancient times accept astrology to be fact? Why did even some of the greatest minds of that age buy completely into this line of thought? The ancient civilizations, such as the Greeks, the Romans, and the Babylonians, when they gazed into the sky, they were naturally inspired to compose stories of the gods in heaven. They looked at the stars and they saw the gods fighting, conversing, and so on. And if the stars were indeed the movements of the gods, why wouldn't these movements then affect the events on Earth? For the ancients, this was a natural and logical next step. And even now looking back, it's easy to see how they came to this conclusion. It was these beliefs that the stars were actually the gods that eventually caused the marriage of science and religion, which became astrology. And of course, because every science needs its scientist and every religion its priest, with the birth of astrology came the class of the astrologer. Because they were believed by the ancients to hold the keys to the future, astrologers were often feared or revered by the ancient peoples. They especially held significant influence in ancient Rome until they were eventually outcast from all of Italy during the Roman Republic. The ancient scientists also studied and supported the effects of the stars on Earth. One of these scientists was Claudius Ptolemaeus, who, according to the discoverers, was the most influential ancient Roman scientist. It was his reputation and expertise which provided plausibility to the science of astrology. Unfortunately now, Ptolemy's reputation has diminished severely because he is most well known for two of his theories. These are the geocentric theory of the universe and the land-dominant theory of the Earth, which of course both ended up being incorrect. However, despite the shortcomings of some of his hypotheses, Ptolemy is still considered one of the greatest minds of his age, and he was a vocal supporter of astrology. His book, Tetrabiblos, eventually became the leading text in astrology. The first two sections of this book, Book 1 and 2, described how the heavens could affect physical earthly events, such as the weather, and then the latter two sections, Books 3 and 4, discussed how the stars can affect the fate of humanity. In his works, Ptolemy also discussed horoscopes, or the prediction of an individual's fate based on the position of the stars at the exact moment of their birth. The ancient scientists and philosophers were faced with the same question that many still wrestle with today. What decides our fate? Their answer to this question rested in the stars, but it was all their efforts to solve this problem reflect the common human desire to conquer the unknown, the desire to peer into the foggy depths of the future and divine prophecy, the desire to discover. Thank you.